Okay, so we're going to go over the declaration pages of the workers' comp and employer's liability policy. And I want to start with some very basic information. At the very top of the page, you'll see the policy number and what date the change happened. If it's a renewal, that will be the renewal date. Directly under that, it says the insured name and mailing address. That is your customer's name and mailing address. It isn't necessarily their location, but it might be, but it is actually their mailing address. On the right side of the page, you will see the FEIN, their federal ID number. If we're writing a new policy, we have to have that in order to write the policy. So agents should be aware to get that when they're first quoting. And directly under that is the location where the employees work. So you might see on this particular example, it is the same location as the mailing address, but it can be different. Obviously, if it's a P.O. box on the mailing address, the location will be the physical location. Number 2 is the policy period. In this particular example, it's March 10th, 2017 to 2018. Most of the policies now are 1-year policies, although we had some that were 3 years. So if you were to go back and look in the history, you might find some that were 3 years. Number 3 is the coverage for workers' comp, A, and that is your workers' comp when you have an injured employee, and B, the employer's liability. And the employer's liability is the part that has limits on it. Workers' comp has no limits on the medical payments, but employer's liability refers to when an employer is held responsible for causing the injury. They're accused or they have negligence which caused the injury, and you'll see those limits listed there. On this particular account, it's 500,000, 500, 500. Sometimes you will see 100, 500, 100. The maximum you will see is 1 million across the board. C, it says other states insurance. So it indicates which states the coverage can apply to, and that means if you have an employee that works outside the office and travels to another state, you'll see the states listed separately, usually on the second page. Part D is the forms. These are numbers and letters that indicate the legal forms that Brotherhood writes, where you find the actual coverage for workers' comp and employer's liability. And number 4 talks about the premium and the rates. So that is your basic policy overview. You want to go down below the line, and you will see different classifications. So when people report to us, churches report to us their different job titles, we have to put that payroll into classifications. And these classifications are not up to Brotherhood. They are designated by the state of where a certain job title should fall. The code number is there in the middle. It'll say 7720 or 8868. Those are the numbers that correspond with the type of classifications, like police officers or church or school. In the next column over is your payroll, and the payroll is what is reported to us. So if you have police officers and drivers and you have more than one, you can put all the payroll for that classification into one lump sum and report it. And you'll see the second one down is church, 3,285,210. That would indicate quite a few church employees. This is a big account. So they do have a lot of church employees that fall into that classification, and schools all put together. All other usually refers to custodians or lawn maintenance, and these are employees directly paid by the church. The contractors who have their own insurance are not included in this because they have their own insurance. You see a few other types. There's terrorism coverage and catastrophe, and those are mandated by each state that there must be coverage for the employees under those categories, so we can't delete those. And they're based on the payroll. The next column over, you see the rates. This is the rate that's charged for that particular kind of classification or job title. And you see the difference between a police officer and driver is $2.22 per $100 of payroll, and the church and school is only 52 cents. And all of this is based on how much risk there is in that job title. Obviously, being a police officer is a lot more dangerous than being in the church or school, and so they charge a lot more. The all other employees for the custodian and lawn maintenance, they're even higher than that. And apparently they have a lot more claims for injury, and so their rates are higher. These rates go up and down based on what the state evaluates through their claims history for the whole state, and it will go up and down. Again, Brotherhood doesn't have any control over those rates are given to them. The final column is just multiplying it out. If you go down to the next line, you'll see some additional numbers. One's called a premium discount. This says $722 credit. And when your premium for the overall policy, not for the whole account, but for the workers' comp policy, goes above a certain level, they get a percentage of a discount. And this one qualified for $722. The expense constant, the $120, is the cost for writing the policy with Brotherhood. 2 columns over, it says INCLIM. It stands for increased limits. And the increased limits refers back to those limits on the employer's liability, the $500,000. And they have an additional charge of $264 because they increase those limits from the 100, 500, 100 to 500 straight across. If it had gone all the way to $1 million, the increased limit charge would be even higher. Over on the right hand side, back down on the bottom, the annual premium, $25,905. Then it says minimum premium. That does not mean that they can send in $489 a month. What it means is that is the least amount that Brotherhood will write the policy for. That confuses customers sometimes. Just go with the annual premium, $25,905, then that's divided up by whatever payment schedule that they're on. If we go to the second page, you'll see an audit worksheet. After the insured sends in their job titles and payroll for the different classifications, and they do that at the end of their policy term, which is in just after March. Then Brotherhood takes that payroll and adds it up and puts it into an audit. The audit reflects the original payroll that was declared and the actual payroll that was paid out during the last year. They put it into this format and they see what the difference is. And sometimes payroll will go up and sometimes down based on the change. They will either get an additional premium or they will get a refund. So if we look at the first classification, which is police, the original exposure, and that's one of the columns, it says $83,288. That was the original payroll that was reported from the year before. And the audit exposure is the newest amount of payroll that was reported, and that shows $143,180. So obviously they added another police officer or two, depending on how many hours they worked. And so they have the original premium for that was $2,257. It went up to $3,880. That's the premium for that classification. So that was an increase. And when they add up these columns, you see down at the bottom, the audit premium total is $28,462. That's for this final audit. They paid during the year $26,244, and so they owe $2,218 for the increase in the payroll. Their payroll increased, and so their premium has to increase. Now keep in mind this is for the year before because it's the audit. Brotherhood takes these figures, and we go to the next page, and based on the new figures that they have which would be the audit exposure. You can match up the numbers from the police 143, 180. You can see that Brotherhood increased the payroll on the policy now to match the figures that were on the audit payroll. So the 143, 180 and on down through the whole list of classifications. And because this is the new policy for this coming year, there's also an increase. The payroll went up, so the premium also increased. And in the bottom of the page, it says the change results in an additional premium due of $2,226. So when the customer gets this, they will have their original premium that they paid. They will have an additional amount due for the audit of $2,218 and another additional amount due of $2,226 for the upcoming year. So when they make their payments, they need to know that they will have these additional premiums if their payroll went up. If their payroll went down, we can adjust it and they will get a refund. If they close out the school or some other classification, we can also have that removed and make the adjustment, and then they would get a credit on their policies.